How to deduct your spouse on a business trip. If you run your own business and travel for work, you might be wondering if you can deduct the expenses of bringing your spouse along. If your spouse is truly working and you document it correctly, the answer is generally yes. This is Dave Horwadell, CEO of Torchlight Tax. If you have questions on this or any other tax topic, you are welcome to contact Torchlight Tax for a free consultation. Some people would rather call and get their question answered rather than watch the whole video, and so it is fine to call us. When your spouse is also an employee, make sure your spouse has a genuine business purpose for the trip, and you should be fine. If your spouse is an administrative assistant for your business or does sales, make sure your spouse is paid as an employee for the work she does. If you do purely fun activities on the trip, like night clubbing or sightseeing, these expenses are not deductible. However, if you fly to Vegas and work during the day and take an evening off, regular business and travel expense are fine. An ounce of protection is worth a pound of cure. A daily meeting and assignment given and worked on and work hours noted will probably satisfy the IRS. If you are audited and you can show you both worked 40 hours per week while out of town, your travel expenses should be covered. Just don't include the nightclub tab as a business expense. Keep a record on a computer or in a book while you are on the trip. If these conditions are met, you can deduct the usual business travel expenses: transportation, meals, hotel stays, and incidental costs like dry cleaning or business calls. When your spouse isn't an employee. If your spouse isn't an employee for your business, you can assign your spouse as a temporary employee for the trip. This may require using a payroll service and tracking hours if paid hourly. If you are a sole proprietor filing married jointly and your wife works in the business, her actual business expenses on the trip are likely deductible, even if not a formal employee. A qualified joint venture can also be filed, which has each of you filing a separate Schedule C. LLCs and corporations can also be used here. An LLC can be treated as a sole proprietorship, aka disregarded entity, a partnership, an S corporation, or a C corporation. Corporations generally have requirements to have formal employees with payroll tax filings and W-2s, etc. So, if you and your wife are working in the corporation, you may need to pay yourself on a W-2, regardless of your travel expenses. There are many variants of these strategies. Maybe you're a business consultant and your spouse has a company that does administrative office support. Both parties could establish LLCs or corporations, with your company covering business travel expenses and providing payment for administrative support to the spouse's company. This may be overkill, but the point is there are many ways to document legitimate business expenses. Facts and circumstances. The IRS has a phrase they like to use: facts and circumstances, i.e., what is really going on. If you want to spend a week in Hawaii and bring your spouse along for fun, then this does not support a deduction. If you are hosting an event or attending a conference there, and your spouse is going to be working with you for real, this does support a deduction. One last point. Taking your spouse along with you on a business trip is a great idea. Separations are not necessarily good for a marriage. Working on it honestly can benefit both your marriage and your business. Not everyone can do this, but if you can work together on a business trip and still have time for fun on your off hours, great. Our job at Torchlight Tax is to legally save your tax dollars without cheating or putting you at risk, while making the tax filing process as pleasant as possible. So if you and your spouse can travel to pleasant locations for business purposes, legally save tax dollars, and have fun, this aligns with our purpose. What to do next? For specific questions, contact Torchlight Tax for a free consultation at 877-758-7797 or info@torchlighttax.com. We also have hundreds of tax articles and videos on our website and Torchlight Tax YouTube channel. You are welcome to visit these and increase your tax knowledge. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive future videos like this.